Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jannavalabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Yeshodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjanu Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yeshodanandana Braja Janaranjana Brajana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Kunja Bihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Now Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Vivrata Kataya Srimadbhagavatam Grace Shalesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Vivrata Kataya Srimadbhagavatam Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Anantakuri Vaishvanda Ki Jai. All glorious notice, all glorious notice, all glorious notice, all glorious Shri Gun Shri Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chava Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Maybe this can go that direction. Or Yukta Vairagya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 27, Text 9. Putranam Chabhavam Putra Ikaikasya Shatam Yar Vai Puranjano Vamsa Panchaleshu Sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Ikaikasya Satam Yarvai Puranjano Vamsa Panchaleshu sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Ekaikasya Shatam Yarvai Puranjano Vamsha Panchaleshu Sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Ekaikasya Shatam Yarvai Puranjano Vamsha Panchaleshu Sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Ekaikasya Shatam Yesai Puranjano Vamsha Yeshu Sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Samtataha Pumsa Panchaleshu Sameditaha Putranam Chabhavan Putra Ekaikasya Shatam Pantano Pamsa Panchaleshu Sameditaha Kana Chalitas Putra Vaishnavis Pranam Chabhavan Putranam of the sons. Cha also. Abhavan were produced. Putra sons. Ekasya of each one. Shatam 100. Shatam 100. Yai by whom? Vai certainly. Puranjanaha of King Puranjan. Vamsa family. Panchaleshu in the land of Panchala. Sameditaha greatly increased. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki! Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by these sons and grandsons of King Puranjana. Please repeat. Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by these sons and grandsons of King Puranjana. Purport. We must remember that Puranjana is the living entity, And the city, Panchala, is the body. The body is the field of activity for the living entity, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetrajna. There are two constituents. One is a living entity, Kshetrajna, and the other is the body of a living entity, Kshetra. Any living entity can know that he is covered by the body if he contemplates only the body a little bit. Just with a little contemplation, he can come to understand that the body is his possession. One can understand this by practical experience and by the authority of the Shastras. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.13, it is said, Dehino shmimyata dehe. The proprietor of the body, the soul, is within the body. The body is taken as the Panchala Desh, or the field of activities wherein the living entity can enjoy the senses in their relationship to the five sense objects, namely Gandha, Rasa, Rupa, Sparsha, and Shabda. That is, sense objects made of earth, water, fire, air, and sky. Within the material world, covered by the material body of subtle and gross matter, every living entity creates actions and reactions, which are herein known allegorically as sons and grandsons. There are two kinds of actions and reactions, namely pious and impious. In this way, our material existence becomes coated by different actions and reactions. In this regard, Srila Narottam Das Thakur states, Karmanda kanda jnana kanda kevala vishera banda amrita baliya ye bakaya nana yoni sada pare kadarya bakshana kare tara janma adapateyaya. Fruit of activities and mental speculation are simply cups of poison. Whoever drinks of them, thinking them to be nectar, must struggle very hard life after life in different types of bodies. Such a person eats all kinds of nonsense and becomes condemned by his activities of so-called sense enjoyment. Thus, the field of action and reactions by which one's descendants are increased begins with sex life. Pranjana increased his whole family by begetting sons who are in their turn begot grandsons. Thus, the living entity, being inclined towards sexual gratification, becomes involved in many hundreds and thousands of actions and reactions. In this way, he remains within the material world simply for the purpose of sense gratification and transmigrates from one body to another. His process of reproducing so many sons and grandsons results in so-called societies, nations, communities, and so on. All these communities, societies, dynasties, and nations simply expand from sex life. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Yan Maitunadi Griha Medi Sukam Hi Tucham. Bhagavatam 7:9-45. A Grihamedi is one who wants to remain within the material existence. This means he wants to remain within the body or society and enjoy friendship, love, and community. His only enjoyment is increasing the number of sex enjoyers. He enjoys sex and produces children, who in turn marry and produce grandchildren. The grandchildren marry and in their turn produce great-grandchildren. In this way, the entire earth becomes overpopulated, and then suddenly, there are reactions provoked by material nature in the form of war, famine, pestilence, and earthquakes, etc. Thus, the entire population is again extinguished simply to be recreated. Wow, what a statement. This process is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 8:9 as repeated creation and annihilation. Bhutva praliyate. Due to lack of Krishna consciousness, all this creation and annihilation is going on under the name of human civilization. This cycle continues due to man's lack of knowledge of the soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshuram Maritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapatantikam Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasuntu Behevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhi Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaitim Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Bharamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram Reading a purport like this gives me reflection when Prabhupada said, Krishna was by my side, writing the Bhaktivedanta purports. Srila Prabhupada himself would be reading a Krishna book. He would enjoy reading Krishna book. And he always exalted, I did not write these books. So when you read a purport like this, a contact capsule of the material field. Throughout the Bhagavatam, we see how the Shastras give direction, how there is this principle of rag and dvesh, desire and hate. It's like a telephone line. You have telephone wires. There's rag and dvesh in this world. So in this way, due to attachment, due to hate, amelioration and hatred, so many illusory experiences develop. You see, even in the devotional line, rag and dvesh is there. If we serve the Lord willingly, then the Lord becomes pleased, which manifests through his parts and parcel representatives through his devotees. If we anger the Lord, Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. Well, if the Lord is angered, no one can save you. But if the Lord is favorable to you, Hariwa, everything is complete. So in this way, this purport is underlying the danger of dealing with the kshetra in the wrong way. The kshetra referring to the body. Kshetragya is not connecting with the proprietor of the body, the Supreme Lord. Now, Prabhupada makes it very clear here. We're dealing with the body which is made up of these various material elements, but it's also this whole analogy, allegory of King Paranjan in the city of Panchala, who is basing happiness in terms of material perspectives. Not only he is undermining his physical arena, but there's a collective. There's so many difficulties with the problems, with misuse of the body, with misuse of the independence, becomes collective problems. And Prabhupada is describing here how material culture is simply based on a parampara of sexual activity. I think it was in Mumbai, Prabhupada would take his disciples into one rich man's mansion, and I've forgotten the the gentleman was showing him, well, Prabhupada, this is my wife. Jai ho, Shishi Goni Tai, Shishi Lakshman Hanuman, Jai Shishi Radhaparta Sarti Jai. This is my wife, and this is my children, this is my sister, showing the whole parampara. And Prabhupada, when leaving the room, he is just showing, this is my sex life. So in this way, we can see that bodily concept, which comes from rag and dvesh, without placing the Supreme in the center, is a dead end. Now, in the Ramayana, even Ravana had exclaimed, was Jai, originally, the pastime of Jai and Vijay in Golok. So then they took birth as demons. So Jai took birth as Ravan. And Ravan made this one point, because down within, he's a devotee of the Lord. Way down. Way down. But he said, I have a body made up of tamas and rajas. I cannot perform bhajan. So I will kidnap Sita. I will get the mercy of Lord Ramachandra. Mrityusava haras chaham. This was a hidden motive. But of course, just like on the battlefield, where Ravana had 10 heads, yes? And then 9 heads are saying, give Sita back, give Sita back, give Sita back, give Sita back. But one head, never. So then, okay, pastime complete. It's actually amazing as we read the Bhagavatam, how Krishna orchestrates different situations, whether through Narada Muni or through Arjuna, that the devotee will become placed in some moha, some illusion, in order to engage his pastimes and leelas. So in this way, Ravana, there was some knowledge there. So Krishna makes it very clear in the Bhagavad Gita, where the living entity is in great difficulty. Vaibam sha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasa sastindriyane prakriti stani karshati. That the living entities are of my various parts and parcels. They are struggling with the 6 senses, which include the mind. And what happens when they struggle, they identify with these kshetras. King Puranjan is identifying with this particular field. Only happiness is with my wife. Only my happiness is in sex life. My only happiness is in creating various creations, expansions of this world. The other day we had some nice Teachers' Day. So many teachers came to the temple, and we were discussing to the teachers. When I was a youth, first grade, I always have clear memories of that history. But they have a game called Chinese Whispers, where the teacher says one thing to one student. Then there's a parampara that goes along. So by the time it goes through several persons, let's say 20 persons, let's say a teacher said, we're getting out of school today at 4 o'clock. By the time it gets around the full circle, we're getting out of school at 11 a.m. today. You can go home. So we see how there's a degradation in these types of paramparas. Yesterday I went to a Nehru place for some computer needs. And I was looking, so much traffic in the area. All these, it's just, it's like a reminder of Kurukshetra out in the battles and barrows and this and that. Hey, chai, wow, all these assaults. You've all been in a train before. But just being assaulted like this. And then I looked out over the Giriraj Parvat. Called Kailash Mountain, they call. there is Radhaparta Sati Mandir. Beautiful beacon of stability within the battlefield. So in this way, it is important if we find ourselves driving a kshetra, a material body, made up of bile, mucus, and air. Just look in the mirror. Ooh. You made a wrong turn somewhere. You're driving a body of bile, mucus, and air. When the kshetra gyan, knower of the field, is eternal. The Supreme is within the heart. And the Supreme Soul is eternally residing with that Lord while in the material field. So this temple represents an opportunity to escape misidentification. Actually, if we study how the living entity goes from different bodies, from youth to old age, misidentification, and there's 8,400,000 species of different types of jivas you can get, different types of bodies, that it's quite an embarrassment for the soul. As soon as one dies, as soon as the body dies, then the karma that has brought you that body is gone. It's over with, deleted. But while being in that nice body with so many defects to it, you've created further karma. So in this way, it becomes a great embarrassment for the soul, because I remember this principle on Sankirtan, that the modes, tamas, rajas, and sattva gun, are always changing. One time we were in Venezuela, and we were distributing, going from shop to shop. And somos misioneros oriente, grande, libros por la mente y la conciencia de Dios. I forgot my Spanish. But there's a book on yoga and meditation. I'm a traveling monk. Somos misioneros. So in one block, everybody's taking the books. Everyone's taking. How do you? It's like, wow. Those who distribute the books. It's amazing when Krishna uses you an instrument. Everything becomes so easy. Then, so we were going, and we have maps, and we would go on the block. So you finish one block, and you go to the next block, and then suddenly, no one was taking the books. Same mantras, same. Turn out a piece of Nietzsche, No. I mean, yes, pride can develop, but it was same. But it was amazing to see from one side of the street to the other, and then we could see, hours change. The modes are in competition for supremacy. Just like you have the different governments. You've had a new government 3 years? But I mean, it's been 3 of the new government, yes. So many changes have taken place. So when there's a new government, there are new rules and regulations. Throughout history, there's changing governments. Even in our temples, we see changing temple presidents and changing management. But here, same, year after year. Sign of Thakurji's pleased. Oh, it's changing temple presidents mean Thakur, okay, dusra. Seva, out, no. That's because you're unified in a very important effort of yajna. He gave me a donation to say a few advertisements. No. But actually, that the modes are always in competition for supremacy as we're driving these kshetras, these particular bodies. So Paranjan has made many mistakes in trying to develop happiness with temporal experiences. So as we understand this particular body we're driving, and the kshetra knower the field, and the field that we drive, we can also understand the cosmic realities around us, the governments, the countries, the effect that misknowledge can have in a collective. Prabhupada gave the example of when you have a piece of wood. Every wood has a piece of like atoms within the wood. If you study the symmetry of the atoms in relationship to that piece of wood, then you can see that the wood is related towards being grown in the ground, a seed in the ground, there's water. What happens in this world is that because we don't have knowledge, or kshetra, the purpose of life, then collective difficulties. Of course, Prabhupada here is describing how extension of the parampara of sex life. And it's described in the Bhagavatam how in the age of Kali Yuga, that living entities, the lives will shorten grossly. Now we're in an age where supposedly 80 years can last max. Few exceptions, but in time things will decrease. So in this way, we always, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur emphasize that to make the best use out of a bad bargain. Because what happens is, okay, this kshetra has many different fields to it, but in the devotional arena, how are you and I affected by misidentification with the body? That's why we have a wonderful temple. We have sadhana. This morning you listened to a very nice kirtan, devotees with different abilities. You have managers who are managing a very big facility for Krishna consciousness expertly. You have devotees who are going out to distribute transcendental literatures. That we see the Dhammi Buddhi Yogam Tam. Krishna is giving intelligence, and each one of the devotees how to, like, armor together to protect the mission, to preserve the mission. Prabhupada simply said, at least, if you can't increase, at least maintain. That's why it's very important within our different departments to maintain not individualism in the sense of separatism, but to see it as a team effort. Look at the devotees around you, and you'll see every devotee is empowered in a certain capacity. If you see a very good singer who's using the body in a proper manner, you become inspired. How I can increase in my field. I might be a manager. I might be a book distributor. I may be a engaged in life membership. I may be making garlands. How can I increase? Whenever I see the Vaishnavis making garlands, I'm always reflected to how when one Maharaj was in New Dwarka, and she was dressing the deities, and Prabhupada asked her, so she came to the room, and Prabhupada said, so how is your service? And she said, I dressed the deities today. And then Prabhupada said, no. The deities dress themselves through you. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Devotees sees themselves as simple, humble instruments in service to the Lord. So it's quite amazing. Good meditation for the Vajari, because you know you have different beads and colors and you have an outfit. But you have no idea what the end result is. I notice Sadhu every day is taking photos of the deities. Is that for a website like that? Very nice. Because people are watching. Oh, what is Thakurji dressed on? I always say to the Sankirtan devotees, meditate on the darshan of the Lord when you see them in the morning, and always think about some detail which attracts you in terms of the color of the cloth,
or in terms of the garland, how it is laid over the ornaments, something. Focus on one aspect. And then when you distribute, because the distribution presentation is basically similar in many respects. But when it comes to getting the donation, you focus on that aspect, that charming aspect you saw in the deity that morning, and the books will always go. Because you're focusing on the deity. You're not thinking double BBT, or you're not thinking in terms of my book score. You're thinking in terms of how to give Krishna pleasure. So in this way, we can understand the power of the ocean of devotion. And we want to perform our practical service free from these modes of material nature. Now, Lord Kapila, in the 3rd Canto, 29th chapter, text 8, describes how abhisantanta te himsan, that actually the devotee, even on the royal road of devotional service, when there is wrong motivation, darkness can enter. In other words, devotion, which is externally dressed, but inside there is some other attitude. Like, here's an example how Ravana approached Sita. He was dressed not as a demon, but as a nice Brahmin, pakka, tilak, everything, pakka. And Lakshman had given him a fire protection around Sita. So he came in the mood of a mendicant. And Sita's whole training is, dasosmi, that I simply render service. Then she ignored the instructions given by Lakshman, don't cross this ring, to render seva. You see, this is devotee's mood. We will perform all risks to take seva. So that's an example there of how, even though externally devotionally dressed, internally wrong motivation. Or Narada Muni, as I mentioned earlier, who is an eternal Parshad of the Lord, how he became overwhelmed by overcoming the residence of Indra's residence, the Cupid, became a bit intoxicated, and Lord Shiva gave him advice. Still intoxicated, Lord Shiva gave him advice. So in this way, Narada himself, an eternal Parsha of the Lord, became covered over, but for a reason. Ultimately, as you know, the whole pastime, Krishna wanted Narada, because Narada didn't get that girlfriend, remember that? He became attracted to one beautiful queen, and Lord Vishnu took the queen, so Narada got very, very angry and cursed Vishnu. But then, Baba, he realized, my goodness, I've cursed my Lord. No, I take the curse back. Because he cursed him. You gave me a monkey face, so you will require the help of monkeys to regain your wife. And then, no. But then the Lord said, do not worry. Ma shuchaha. Don't fear. I have arranged the situation so then you are helping me fulfill my Leela. Then the Lord came as Lord manifested as Lord Ramachandra. The Lord is so inconceivable. If we learn how to properly drive this body in seva. As I said earlier, you see Krishna's sense of humor. If you see in the mirror, you see a material body. Okay, it's a bad bargain, but we are making the best use out of this bad bargain to add Krishna, to encourage others. By distribution in some way, shape, or form, you actually develop a heart transformation. In other words, our motivations may have been selfish, even coming to devotional service. But ultimately, param drisvana vartate, by experiencing a higher taste, we give up the lower taste. I'll openly admit, when I first I joined in San Diego, and one of my motivations to get my Brahmin thread, I'm sorry, because the Brahmins in our temple were fed first. The Brahmins would be in one line and like this. So I was thinking, because in Rikadar, very hungry, young brahmachari, after, Bhagavatam, actually, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and the stomach, because you knew after an hour. I'm joking a little bit, but the motivation may not be accurate. So in this way, it is very important. In devotion, we become freed from the different modes of material nature. Devotion in the mode of passion, devotion in the mode of ignorance. Vishuddha Sattva is transcendental goodness. And when there is at least a mode of goodness, there's broad vision. That ultimately we can understand how the Lord can manifest in such a way that to come right before us, because there is no Iccha Matsarya, that we become proud. I'm a devotee. I'm a sannyasi. I am a guru, or I'm a servant. I'm servant. I'm das, anudas. Like I was telling about the other day about this one brahmachari that was in the temple in Chicago. Very good brahmachari, good colors, big neck beads. And we called him the Coke Balu brahmachari. And 9 chickpeas, 1 roti, boss. But Harinam Sankirtan, he's distributing all kinds of glubdamins around the corner. So in this way, we want to perform devotional service in such a way that it attracts the attention of the Lord. We're not attracting attention to ourselves. We're giving. But Prabhupada, he put so much energy into put attention to Krishna. And then Krishna put so much attention to Srila Prabhupada. So it's a transcendental competition. The devotee is always putting attention to the Lord, and the Lord is always putting attention towards his devotee. So this is the power of devotion. This is the power of bhakti. And even if we are in an arena where it's a very chaotic battlefield, like if we look at the outside this temple, out in the city, out in the country, how so many collective problems develop when there is a initial problem. Aham, I am this body, this is mine, this is yours. You know, in 13 years, in just India alone, 13 years from now, 2017, 2030, that 50% of the required water, 50% of the required water for the residents in India will not exist. 13 years. Now, many people have a misconception that ultimately the more water there is, the more trees there are. It's the opposite equation. The more trees there are, then the more water there'll be. And there are actually present plans being developed by environmentalists in India to all tributaries to put many, many trees on the banks. Because it's a relationship. But sadly, we're cutting all the trees down. We see this exactly in a small contact capsule of Braj, that so many trees have been cut down. And it is very austere. I mean, it was only 500 years ago. You could go in Prikrama around Govardhan Hill and in the shade completely. There was such dense forest at that time. So this individual misidentification with the Kshetra, collective problems, of course Prabhupada is describing the sex life, but we see how this Bahushak, this many-branched attitude, develops further problems. There's abuse, there's war, there's pestilence. And in a country, for example, like Australia, It is it's only the outside near the ocean where there's trees and life. The rest is desert. So in this way, we want to very conscientiously take advantage of an opportunity to give knowledge to others and to use our body in a proper light. Now, one time, Narada Muni was visiting Vrindavan, and he saw a very young, beautiful girl, but there were two old men by her. And he asked, "Who are you?" And she said, "Actually, I am Bhakti. And I became very, very old and hand problem. I couldn't walk very well. But I came to Vrindavan. In my youth, I regained my youth. It's the power, to this present day, of the Dham. But my sons, Gyan and Vairagya, they're sleeping, they haven't recovered, they're old men." So Narada Muni said to her, "Well, actually, Lord Krishna, when he departed to his own abode, he allowed Kali Yuga to progress. But actually, it's best that you ask him to come. Because by the Yuga Dharma, by chanting the holy names, there's all benefit. But you should ask the Lord yourself. You become surrendered to the Lord, and then the Lord can give you intelligence, give you direction of what to do." So then she prayed, and the Lord came. And the Lord said that actually you will always remain young. And actually there will be a time in the future that I will come as my bhakta and spread the holy names. And the Lord left. And Narada Muni was there. So, and Gyan and Vairagya were still sleeping. So then Narada Muni began to chant the Nam. But to no effect. They weren't changing. What's happening? So then a voice came from the sky, "Do some punya, do some pious activity." And then the four Kumaras came, and Narada asked, what is the problem here? And their instruction was, you must glorify the Srimadbhagavatam daily. You must read the Bhagavatam. And that was the first Bhagavatam that was set everything into motion about reading the Srimadbhagavatam. And as a result of hearing the Bhagavat philosophy, hearing the pastimes of the Lord, hearing how to drive this body, how to drive properly in this world, how to understand what is Shrechagya, how to understand Kshetra, that Gyan and Vairagya became youthful once again. So again, we want to conscientiously take advantage of our great position. As we study the philosophy, as we try and protect ourselves from misusing the gift given to us, this human form, as we try to make the best use of a bad bargain, as we collectively work together. You look at the different devotees in this room, previously coming to devotional service, you probably would not be living under the same roof if it weren't the common denominator of devotion, service to the Lord. So you have a very wonderful base here to increase these values, this Vaishnava culture, this spiritual culture, and act in such a capacity to distribute transcendental knowledge to your best ability. Then you will experience from identifying with the Kshetra, you begin to understand the knower of the field and associate with the deity form through the Nam. While I was in a Nehru place yesterday, one shopkeeper showed me a Hindi bhajan, the true story, how one older gopi, she was worshiping her Thakurji, and she had such attraction, reminded me very much like, for example, Mirabai, and so much devotion But her daughter or granddaughter took the deity and dropped the Thakurji. And she's going, oh, Mera Babu, oh, get a doctor quickly. Get a doctor. True story. Get a doctor. Jaldi, jaldi. And the family member, Yekyahe, Archavigraha, made of metal? What's the problem? Huh? So they finally got a doctor. And the doctor even goes, in the bhajan, the doctor is feeling, could not feel, just a Archavigraha, it's not alive. He's thinking it's not alive. No, Babu. Tears coming. Stethoscope. Use your stethoscope. You know stethoscope. How you say in Hindi, stethoscope? And then, okay. Just like, true story. There's a pure-minded doctor, because what happened. He put the stethoscope on the Thakurji. Or maybe, Radhe, 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 Radhe. Wow. Oh. Again. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Oh. Wow. And then he said in the pad, everyone is illusion except you. Everyone is an illusion except you. So I'm not saying, hopefully none of the Pujari is going to buy stethoscopes. And Maharaj said, you can see behind the curtains. It was funny, So, but ultimately, as we see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Sakshi Gopal deity, well, the Brahmin said, if you can talk, you can walk. Krishna was defeated by the devotion. So the point being is, if in this devotional arena you learn to drive your body and seva, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lava mantra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Perfection is there for you. So be very, very positive, learn, inspire each other, and with that mood of service to Thakurji, and the parampara will awaken a relationship within you, a personal relationship. Thakurji is beyond material elements. This is actually non-different. Non-different. As a rod in the fire becomes like the fire, this Archa Vigraha, which was marble, becomes spiritualized. And isn't there history in our temples how the outfits become small on the deity, especially at this temple? Because as a sannyasi, so much Mahaprasad is coming. I'm thinking I might steal some and give to... No, the deities have been so well fed here, so I imagine the cloths, the copper is getting smaller. Anyways, you have a very, very fortunate position. Take advantage. And in this way, you will overcome any difficulties, identifying with his body. And as a team, like your shields together, you will actually fulfill Prabhupada's desire to spread Krishna consciousness. So, work as a team. The future is very bright. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Do we have any time for questions? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. One thing I was thinking, Panchal, Prabhupada says that this body is Panchal country. So Panchal is made from Panch and Ala. Panch means 5 and Al means enough. So this body has 5 elements, Panch, and not more than 5. This is enough. So Panch Alam. So this is Panchahal. Or the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, not more than 5. Pala Alam, enough. So this is Panchalam. And working senses also 5, not more than, not needed more than 5, enough, Panchal. Panchal, like this. And 5 objects of sense also, 5, not more than 5. This is enough, Panchal, like that.
Yes. It's like if you're flying on an airplane and there's a transit lounge in another country, transit lounge. And then if you follow the rules of the airport, then you go to your destination. So the body is like a transit lounge, and following what you're saying, that if we simply use it properly, think about that. Just think about the cosmic realities. The jiva, whether origination in the Golok, that or Mahatattva, has somehow ended up here, in this field. So you're encased within a body of bile, mucus, and air, these external elements. But if through the Shastra and through association you use this machine properly, then in the next birth, anti-material, that's a transit lounge, you know. So, yeah. So I have to undergo an operation today. Eye operation. So my transit lounge is going to be hiding in the guest house. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Srimadbhagavatam ki jai.